Hi everybody and welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to show you a really easy way to take an image off the web and transform it into a 3D printed object. Now you can do a lot with this technique, and best of all, it's easy even if you're a total novice. So even if you don't know anything about computer-aided design or have never designed anything yourself, with this technique, you'll be able to make your own 3D designs and then print them out on your 3D printer. So in order to make this work, you'll need a couple of free open source programs that you can download off the web. Specifically, you'll need Inkscape and FreeCAD. Now I'll put the links to these applications in the description below, and you can download them and install them on your computer. So the basic workflow for this technique is to take a bitmap image, convert it to a vector image, bring the vector image into FreeCAD, and convert it into a 3D model. What's really awesome about this, as you'll see, is that you can add your own personal touches to any images that you decide to use. So the first thing that we'll need to do is find some images to work with. For this technique, I'm going to use silhouette clip art. As I'm sure you already know, a silhouette is a dark shape and outline of someone or something. So let's go to Google and do a search for some silhouette images. Alright, so the first thing that you need to do is download some images to work with. In this case, we're going to be downloading some silhouette clip art, and you can download this type of stuff just by doing a Google search. Just search for clip art silhouette, and you can see here that there are a ton of options to choose from, and you can pretty much choose anything that you want. Now, I've already downloaded some clip art, and I'll show you which images I'm going to be using. The other thing that you're going to have to download, of course, is Inkscape, and the latest version of Inkscape is 1.2.2, so download that program and install it on your computer. Finally, you're going to have to download FreeCAD. Now, with FreeCAD, you've got a couple of options. You can either download the official version, which you can find on the FreeCAD website, or you can download a fork of FreeCAD called Real Thunder. And the advantage of using Real Thunder is that it's basically a version that has fixed a number of issues with the official version. And my suggestion is that you download both and that you install both versions of the program, and you can use either one depending on whatever one works best. Now, in this case, I'm going to be using the Real Thunder version because there are a couple of quirks in the official version that makes doing this kind of project a little more difficult. So I'm going to go with the non-official Real Thunder version because it works better. So in terms of the clip art, I have a number of images here. When you look for a clip art image, a silhouette image, try not to get something that's overly complex. You can do a fair amount with more complex images, but to start off with, I would just suggest working with something relatively simple just to make it easy for you until you get familiar with the concepts. So in my case, I've got a whole bunch of images here. I'm going to choose two images pretty randomly. I'm going to take this cat image here because I like this image, and also because my wife likes cats. And I'm also going to use this little doggy, this little Dachshund hot dog image because my daughter likes Dachshunds. So these are the two images that I'm going to work with. All right, so let's begin, first of all, by opening up the image in FreeCAD, or not FreeCAD, in Inkscape. All right, so now we have Inkscape open, and what we need to do is bring in the images and convert them from a bitmap image to a vector image. So let's first of all import the images, and I'm going to start with the cats. Just say OK to all of this, and here is the image. Now, before we start working on the image, there's something that needs to be done. Basically, the origin point in Inkscape is not the same as the origin point in FreeCAD. Now, we're going to be opening these images up in FreeCAD, and so we need to make sure that the origin point is appropriate to FreeCAD. Otherwise, when we open it in FreeCAD, the image will be like way out of the field where we're going to be working with it. So we need to make sure that it opens up in the right place. And so the equivalent origin point in Inkscape to FreeCAD is the top left-hand corner, somewhere around here, in fact. So what we want to make sure is that we put the image in the right place and save it in the right place. Now, one thing that we can do is create guidelines that will help us with this. So I'm going to do that very quickly. We'll create two guidelines, and we will put the intersection of these guidelines right at the corner here. We're going to just basically click this button here, or this little dot here, and we'll say that we're going to have the X at the 0 point. So there it is. And we're going to have the Y at the 0 point as well. We'll say OK to that. And now the guidelines intersect at the top corner here. Now, in order to help us even more, we want the image to snap to the right spot here. And the way we do this is by turning on the snap option, which is right here at the top right hand corner. So turn it on, and then make sure that grids, guidelines, and page borders are checked. So without these checked, you can just move the image randomly and it doesn't snap. But when you check these three things, it will snap into place. One thing I recommend is that you save this page as a template. So if you want to work with bitmapped images and bring them into FreeCAD later on, it'll make it a lot easier. And the way you save it into a template is by going to File and Save Template. Click on that, and you can give it a name like FreeCAD Origin Point or something like that. I'll just put my initials here for author, RG, description, origin point for FreeCAD template. And say save. And now if you go to new from template, you'll find that it's in there, FreeCAD origin point, and you can just access that page whenever you need to do this. So what we want to do now is take this bitmap image and convert it into a vector image. So let's do that. But before we do that, I'm just going to move out of the way because the window we're working with is right over here. So I need to show you what's going on. So the way you convert the image into a vector image is by right-clicking it and going to Trace Bitmap. And you'll see what the image will look like right here as a vector image. So it's taken this bitmap and it's converted it into a vector image. Now it looks very good to me. So what we do simply is hit apply, and that image will be placed right over here. So if I move the original image out of the way, we can see that what we have is the vector image right here at the corner. So we don't need the original bitmap image anymore, so we can just click on it and delete it. So what we need to do now before we bring it into FreeCAD is decide how big we want this vector image to be. And at this point, it's about 46 millimeters. I want it to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to make it 85 millimeters. So once you do that, just click, and there we have the image. Put it back at the center like this, and there we go. So the last thing that we have to do is just save it as a vector image, an SVG image, which we do by simply going to File, Save As, and we can save it as an image, and I'm just going to call it Cute Cats. And I'll say OK, and I'm going to replace the one that's already there, and there we go. So at this point, we just need to bring it into FreeCAD and convert it into a 3D image. So let's do that. So now we're going to import the image, the vector image, into FreeCAD. So the first thing that we'll do is create a new project. And now we will go to the image and import it into FreeCAD. So here's the image right here, Cute Cats. We'll click on that. This will pop up saying open as SVG as geometry or drawing. We want to open it up as geometry, so we'll select that. And here is the image, the SVG image, open in FreeCAD. Now we can't do anything with it yet. We need to do a couple of things before we can actually extrude it properly. Now if I go to the model view, you can see that the image has been broken up into different parts. And what we want to do at this point is convert this into a sketch. And the way we do this is by going from part design to draft. And we'll need to highlight the different parts of the image, like so, and go to the draft to sketch option. Click on that, and you can see here that it created a new sketch for us based on these elements from the SVG. So once we've done that, we want to go back to part design. We don't need the grid from the draft workbench, so we're going to turn it off, and we'll go to part design. The other thing that we now can do is turn off the sketch or the elements from the SVG. We don't need those anymore. So if you hit the space bar, it will turn it off. It will turn off all these elements. At this point, we are ready to extrude the sketch. So go to the extrude or the pad tool here and click on it. It'll ask if you want to create a new body. It can only extrude if there's a body. So click on create new body, say OK, and there we have it. The image has been extruded. Now we don't want it 10 millimeters, we only want it to be about 2 millimeters, because what I'm going to do is create a key holder. So I'm going to say OK to that. 2 millimeters is fine. When you do that, you have the cats all extruded as 3D objects. Now we can't print this yet because clearly the hearts here are in mid-air, so it's not going to work the way it is right now. What I'm going to do is create a platform on which to rest this object. So let's do that. Now the platform is going to be on the back, so let's move to the back, or the bottom I should say. And so here we have it, and what we're going to do here is basically create another sketch. So click on this element here, go to create sketch right here, and it will create a new sketch. Now the grid is too small. Let's just fix that, make it about 10 millimeters. There we go. So we've got the grid. We want to make this right side up, so we'll just turn it around like that. And now we're ready to work with this. So we just want to make a platform on which the cats can rest. So we're going to hit the circle option here, and we'll make a circle like so. And now we can constrain it. So let's constrain the diameter. We'll click on it, and we want it to be, let's say, 110 millimeters. All right, now at this point, we can make sure that the circle is fully constrained. There's still 2 degrees of freedom here. The way we do this is by clicking on the center point here, and we want it to be at 0 basically. So let's just constrain the vertical, and it is at 0, so we'll leave it at that. And let's just constrain the horizontal. Again, it's at 0. We'll just leave it at that. That's fine. So now we have a fully constrained sketch. As you can see here, it says fully constrained. We close this, and then we go to pad again, and we'll make the padding 2 millimeters, like so. And then we have the cat elements on the platter, and that's what we were trying to do. Now, since we want to make this into a key chain holder, we need to put a little hole here to put the key ring. So I'm going to click on that, go to sketch. I'm going to again go to circle and make a 5 or 6 millimeters circle like so. We'll constrain it, make it 6 millimeters, 5 millimeters, that's fine. Let's just make it 5 millimeters, and there we have it. We can again make sure that it's fully constrained. So let's constrain the horizontal. It's 0. It's fine. That's great. And then let's constrain the vertical, and we'll make it. Let's make it 50 millimeters. That way it'll be a little higher. And then we're done. So we'll go to close, and then we're going to put the hole here. So we'll go to make a hole, and we'll say OK. And there we have it. Now, there are 2 options here. Just, you know, there's make a pocket and make a hole. Always use pocket. The hole option is for making special kinds of holes for screws and so on. So that's not going to work properly. Anyway, so here we have it. We've got our first 3D model. And the only thing that's left to do now is export it as an STL. Now, if you're working on this, make sure you name all these things, because it's easy to lose track. So make sure you give a name to all the elements in your model view. Okay, so let's just export this as an STL. And we're going to call this Cute Cats STL. All right, so the only thing that's left now is to print it out. All right, so let's do the same thing with the little doggy. And I'm going to do that quickly. So let's just open up the Inkscape again, and we're going to get rid of the cats that we worked with. And then we'll go to the doggy, the Dushund, and open that. So we'll import it. And there it is. And we'll say OK to that. Now, I'm going to do something a little different with this little doggy compared to the cats. So I'm going to make this more of a 3D model as opposed to a key holder, although you can use it as a key holder, but I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. So we've got it here. We're going to convert this bitmap image into a vector image. So it looks pretty good to me. So let's just say apply. And we can see that the image has been converted to a vector image. So we'll get rid of the bitmap image, delete it. We're going to take the vector image and we're going to increase the size because it's very small. So let's just make it 110 millimeters. There it is. We're going to put it at the center here like that. Now we're going to save it as an SVG file. And we'll call this cute dog. So we call the other one cute cats. This is going to be cute dog. Say save. Let's just go back to FreeCAD now. And we're going to open up, we'll get rid of this. We'll discard it. Actually, let's just save the project. So it's a good idea to save a project. So let's just save it as a project. So before we saved it as an STL. But if we want to go back to the project and work on it again, it's probably a good idea to save it. So we'll call it Cute Cats. And it'll save it as a FreeCAD project. So we'll save that. And now we're going to close this completely. Let's just make a new project. And we'll bring in the doggy. We'll import it. And so here's the cute dog SVG that we saved. We'll bring that in. We'll import it as geometry. We'll select that. And so there it is. And you can see that it's made up of 4 different parts. The ears, the nose, the eye, and the body. All right, so now what we want to do is convert this into a sketch. So let's go back to draft. Let's just put it so that we can see it properly. And you can see how the dog is right at the center. And that's what we were doing in Inkscape. We wanted to make sure that when we brought the vector file into FreeCAD, that it would be placed correctly. And it is. It's almost dead center, which is perfect. So let's take this and convert it into a sketch. All right, so there we go. We have it converted into a sketch. Let's turn off the grid. Let's go back to part design. Let's look at the model view. Since we don't need the SVG elements anymore, we can turn them off. And now we can extrude the dog. Again, it's going to ask for me to make a new body. We'll say okay to that. Here's the problem. We'll just cancel that. It's only extruding the eye. So we need to highlight this. We need to highlight the sketch to make sure we get everything. And now, if we say extrude, it should extrude everything. So let's just do that. Create a new body. And there we go. It's extruding the whole thing. Let's make this about 6 millimeters. All right. Now, as you can see, it's given us the eye, it's given us the nose, and it's given us the ears. And it basically created a hole for the ears. I don't want the hole. What I want is to make the ears kind of come out a bit. So how are we going to do that? Well, one way to do that is by using this as a reference, okay? And then clicking on the dog and creating a new sketch. And then using the B-spline tool to create the ears. So let's just do that. So just essentially go and click the shape of the ears, just follow them along like so. And you need to make sure that you close the B-spline, otherwise it will not work. So let's just do that. We'll make it like this, and we'll close it. Hopefully it'll close. If it doesn't close, we can fix it. So there we go. Let's just see if it's actually closed it properly. It didn't. You see it's still open. So the way to close it off, because otherwise we won't be able to extrude it, is by clicking the 2 vertices here and using this tool here called Constrain Coincident, and it will close off the 2 points. So we'll do that, and there we go. Now it's closed properly. At this point, we can close the sketch, and we can extrude the ears, and we'll extrude it by 1 millimeter. Now, as you can see, the ears are still sort of open on the other side. They're going through the other side, and that's from the old element that we had there, the vector elements, and we don't want that to be the case. So what we can do is, first of all, get rid of the vector element completely. Let's just delete it because we don't need it anymore. And then we can open up the original sketch here, and we can essentially, or this is the original sketch, we can essentially just delete these ear elements here. Let's just do that properly. All right, we got them all. We can just say delete, just hit the delete button, and it got rid of them. That's fine. Don't worry about the error. It's not, oh, this is the error right here. Let's just get rid of that as well. Delete. And there it goes. It's gone. Close this, and now the holes are gone. You can see. We also want to get rid of this nose thing here, is because it's too tiny, and it's going to create a problem when we print it. And I also want to do something else with it. So let's just get rid of that as well. So the hole is here. Let's just get rid of the vector element and then go to the sketch and get rid of it. So there it is right here. We don't want to get rid of anything else. Let's just get rid of the hole. So there it is. Just hit delete and it'll delete the hole. Say close, and the hole is gone. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shape of the body, and I will make a hole through the body, and it'll create an interesting sort of design. So let's click on the body, go to create sketch. Let's make the grid size a little bigger, so make it 10 millimeters. And we're going to use the B-spline tool again. And I'm just going to create a opening through the body. So let's just do that. I'll just do it quickly. You don't have to be too precise with this. Just basically outline the body like this. I'm just going to do it quickly. There we go. Let's just zoom in here and close this off. Click on that, and it looks like it's worked. So again, it didn't close off the B-spline. So let's click the two vertices here, the two dots, and go to constrain coincident, and there we go. Now it's all closed and ready to be extruded, or ready to have a hole cut through it. If you don't like the way it's shaped, you can just sort of take these dots and you can shape it whatever way you want. And let's just look at here. So I'm just going to bring this down a little bit like so, and open it up a little bit, and there we have it. And we can fit all, so there we go, and we're done. So let's just go here, and we will use the pocket to make a hole, and we'll make the hole 7 millimeters. Since the padding is 6 millimeters, we want to go right through, so we'll say okay, and there we have it, an interesting looking doggy. And I'm going to do the same thing around the nose, and we can actually, if we want, use it as a keychain by putting a little hole here, and we can hook a ring through that, which we can hang our key on. So again, I'm going to make another sketch, and I will use the B-spline tool again. And you don't have to be too precise with this. Do it the same way as before, just like so. And the idea here is to just make a hole for your keys. There we go. Now we're going to have the same problem as before. It's not closed. So let's click on these 2 points and go to constraint coincident, and there we have it. And now we can play around with this and make the opening whatever shape we want. There we go. We'll say close to that. Go to pocket, make it 6 millimeters, say OK, and now we have the doggy, and it is a 3D printable doggy. And my idea is to take the ears and make them a different color from the body. So let's save this as an STL file. We'll call it cute doggy, or actually we'll save it as a FreeCAD file first of all, and we'll call it cute dog, and then we'll export it as an STL file, and we'll call it cute dog STL. Okay, so the only thing that's left now is to print it and see how it turned out. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hopefully it'll get you inspired to go out and be creative with your 3D printer. So as you can see, anyone can be creative with 3D printing, and this is true even if you don't know anything about computer-aided design and model creation. So if you've put your printer aside for a while, if you haven't done anything, I think it's time to get back to it. So get that 3D printer out of the box or out of the closet or wherever you put it, turn it on, and make something cool and interesting with it. Now, before you go, remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, as well as post a comment. Becoming a subscriber to my channel is very helpful in terms of the YouTube algorithm noticing my channel, and posting a comment is important because it really inspires me to make more videos for your edification and your enjoyment. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.